Hey, hello, hello. What a joy, what a pleasure, what an honor it always is to come to you. And even more greater honor for you to receive us in, share your time with us in this conversation, this very all-important conversation about the power of our common humanity, the sanctity of our common humanity. Our Creator endowed us, you and I, on the individual level, and of course on the collective level. Our Creator endowed us with a profound power to determine outcomes and to make the outcomes come to pass. What it means is that you and I who live in Ghana can determine this is the kind of country we want. We can envision it, envisage it. We can literally write out the sketch of it, and we can make it come to pass and get the exact picture we want. Nigeria, the same. Senegal, the same. Somalia, the same. Eritrea, Ethiopia, the same. From Cairo to Cape Town, Senegal to Somalia, across Sudan, South Sudan, the same. It means, therefore, that the continent, the nation, is what it is because the people permit it to be so. We permit it to be so. We allow it to be so. We determine in our thinking and our minds and in our attitudes that we don't really want a serious nation or serious nations, and so that's what we get. The power concerning the outcomes of life really is in our hands. The Creator placed it in our hands. The conversation, therefore, we've been having, which has to do with the mindset, the power of the mind and the mindset, the values, the words, the thoughts, the actions, the habits, and all of that along the way of life through our experiences, which has formed our mindsets. Whether we are fearful, whether we are intimidated, whether we are timid, whether we are courageous, whether we are bold, whether we are strong, whether we just have the guts to do things and to get things done, all of it really is at the heart of the mindset. And the concept of mindset, the conversation of mindset, the topic, the theme of mindset is at the heart of we as human beings, this great species called humankind. We are at the heart, the mindset is at the heart of us as human beings and the profound transformational change we can bring to life, to society, where we live and whatever we touch. Now, to Ellen Langer's quote, it is not primarily our physical selves that limit us, but rather our mindset about our physical limits. We've been talking about this great scientist, Stephen Hawking, and the great scientist that he represents. Between an actual real scientist and an astrophysicist and in between and all of that, the great inventor he was. Some of the account of his life has it that he's responsible for close to about 200 inventions that has impacted human life, the history of human life. One man, Steve Hawkins, and yet the physical being, the bone disease, the nature, the state of his health, his bones was such that the only thing he could literally move were his eyes, not even his head properly. Everything was motionless, without mobility, without the power to move. Bones literally not functioning because of this disease condition, because of this health condition that eats away the bones. And so really you would say he had no bone, no healthy bone in his entire body. This man was, if you like, a write-off for those who understood, if you knew his condition, write-off. And yet something inside of him, more powerful than a body that could be written off. His mindset, his mindset, his mindset, his mindset. This power of an engine, which all of us have, mindset, said to him, as Ellen Langer is saying, no physical limit can stop me from achieving. And he was at the height of the human ladder of inventions. Human history, in human history, there is really no comparable inventor. There are quite a few, but they are in his category, and definitely he stands tall amongst all of these. So the power of the mind, the mindset, and how the mindset is formed is everything. Viktor Frankl's study on September 25th, 1942, Austrian neurologist study of the brain and the mind, and psychotherapist Viktor Frankl and his family were taken prisoner by Nazi Germany and spent more than 3 years in concentration camps. So 1942, September 25th, this gentleman, Austrian neurologist and psychotherapist, he was thrown into concentration camps for 3 years. And if you know anything about the concentration camps, it's the worst of place constructed by the Nazis where human beings were kept. You don't even keep animals you want to get rid of in Nazi camps, in these concentration camps. And yet that's where Viktor and his family were taken for 3 years. Now, according to Viktor's story, during this time, Frankl examined how he and other prisoners faced endless life-defining challenges every day. Every day. He looked at it, he examined it, he studied it, he looked at it carefully. He wanted to determine why some survived and some didn't. Why is it that all of us face the same conditions? We're all in the same situation, same conditions, and yet some survive, some thrive. They don't just survive, they thrive, and they do well. Why some persevered and some gave up hope. With curiosity, Viktor Frankl explored why humans behave differently when up against challenges. So this could have broken him. This could have just made Viktor to throw in the towel. Franklin could have just thrown in the towel and said, you know what, forget it. These conditions, these circumstances I find myself in, it doesn't even give me any chance to be hopeful, much more to think of fighting back. So the chance to fight back was not there. The energy to fight back was not there because hope was not there for everybody. Somehow there were people in there who seemed to survive and thrive and do well. They didn't die. They didn't give up hope. So he was curious about investigating and interrogating and finding out why this was so. He discovered, now this is his discovery, and this is really important here now. He discovered that when one's response is grounded with a positive, optimistic mindset. Now, this is a guy in the midst of fire in a concentration camp. Viktor Frankl, in the midst of fire, finding out that there's something about the mindset, the power of the mind, forming a certain positive, optimistic mindset that keeps one, that helps, empowers an individual to survive this kind of environment. This kind of environment. He says it nearly always increases the odds for better result. He found that this was the defining difference between those most likely to survive the death camps and those less likely to persevere. Now, the concentration camps were death camps, literal death camps. And guess what? People survived the death camps. People survived the concentration camps. People survive these camps. They survive these camps not just because they were any super special people. They were not. They were not. The difference is they used what every human being has been blessed and endowed and graced with, the power of the mind to determine to be positive and to be optimistic and to be hopeful. That was the key. That's what he found. What others decided to throw away, he decided not to throw away. Others threw away theirs. He decided to keep his. Keep his and use his. And that is an optimistic, positive mindset. We can say this enough. An optimistic, positive mindset. That for him was the defining difference. The defining difference. Now we can bring this situation to any situation about life. And I dare say that what people call hopeless situations in their nations today, what Ghanaians might call hopeless because of the economic challenges and economic hardships, cannot be anywhere close to the concentration camps, cannot be anywhere close to what pertained, what existed in the concentration camp. These were death camps, death camps, death camps, death camps. Part of the psychology was to weigh you down, tear you down, take away your hope, take away the hope for living, the hope to live, the hope to be alive, literally, and then eventually tear you to pieces. In fact, you were waiting for your death. There was no democracy, there was no parliament, there was no engagement of issues, government trying to put measures in place to bring people out. There was nothing like that. Nothing like that. So a far worse, much worse situation than you have in any nation today on the face of the earth. I dare say so. Except for maybe the places of Ukraine and Russia, particularly Ukraine, who Russia has pounced on and engaged in war. Now, this is just to describe how debilitating, how crippling, how much this situation of the concentration camps was and what it really represented. In fact, you had no business hoping because there was nothing to be hopeful about. And yet, Viktor Frankl and his family survived because he found others who survived. And what caused them to survive was an optimistic, positive attitude with a mindset that says to you, I can beat this odds. How do you beat the odds in a concentration camp when your death sentence is written and is shown you? And the things to make sure you know you are out, you're on your way out of this earth, of this life, is put right in your face. How do you generate that hope? Now, that should suggest to us, my friends, that in spite of the physical circumstances we face, this great faculty called the mind has within it a certain innate power to generate optimism and positivism. I hope I said it right. That's a long one. Positivism. So, positive. So let's say positivity. So we do have within our minds, within ourselves, the power to generate this. It's not easy. It's not easy. But I guess that one of the things to make it easy is to watch the people you are around, the people who hang around you. If you stay in a toxic environment where the people, the voices, the immediate voices who speak into your soul and into your spirit and into your mind are those with these negative vibes, toxic vibes, then you know you cannot make it, because then the attempt to generate this positivity will be, will be killed and will be snuffed out. Viktor Frankl, I believe, decided that in the midst of this environment, I'm going to pay attention to these people with these unique energies, positivity, optimism. And that is how he survived. Frankl wrote, everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. In fact, he is the same person who, in fact, we recount and recraft what he said this way, and we say, he says, between action and reaction is choice. The power of choice. I'll say that again. Between action and reaction is the power of choice. I like to take Viktor Frankl's quote again. He said, everything can be taken away from a man, but one thing you cannot take from a human being, the last of the human freedoms, and that is the power to choose, your reaction, the power to choose how you behave. This stubborn resolve within us, not to melt, not to crush, not to go down, not to throw in the towel, to die even before one is dead physically. This strange asset, this strange capability, just the resolve, just the stubborn resolve to stay afloat and alive, generated from within the power of the mind, and creating this mindset of positivity is also because within your system and within your being is the knowing and the knowledge that you can survive over and above and surmount the power of dying. Not only that, but also the people, I cannot say this enough, the people, young people, I need you to hear me. All about your life will amount to what it is and is where it is right now because of your friends, the people, the company. When I say company, the companions, the people you keep, the people you hang around with. As they say, you look like your friends. You look like the people you hang with. You look like the people who talk to you, who speak to you, who fill you with the thoughts, the ideas, and so on and so forth. Our particular target group, as we've said all the time, is from 15 upwards and right up to 45. And for you, let's remember Viktor Frankl. He says everything can be taken from a man or from a woman, but one thing you can't take. It is the last of his freedoms, and that's his power to choose. Power to choose. You can choose your mindset. You can choose your mindset by choosing your experiences, by choosing who's around you, who you allow into your space. Life happens. Yes, life happens. That means there are things you cannot control happening, but for the most of it, you and I can control. And even with what we cannot control, guess what? We can choose our reaction. Viktor Frankl gives us that clear understanding. Let's examine another generous individual. This guy I have so much respect for. He's the Bangladeshi social entrepreneur and recipient of the 2016 Nobel Peace Prize for pioneering the concepts of microfinance. This is also somebody that one of the former presidents of America, President Bill Clinton, spoke about quite a bit and used as an example of a change agent, someone who brought so much change to his big nation, big country, with a lot of people impoverished in poverty, just depraved in poverty, wallowing in poverty. He changed lives, he touched lives, he transformed lives. Young people, that should be your aspiration. That should be my aspiration. This should be our aspiration. Listen to what he said. He said, mindsets play strange tricks on us. He said, we see things the way our minds have instructed our eyes to see. I love this. Don't you love this? I like this. Let me take it again. This is Muhammad Yunus. Muhammad Yunus. He says mindsets play strange tricks on us. Our mindsets play strange tricks on us. And the tricks is that the way your eyes see, your mind has commanded your eyes to see it that way. So you see a person you think doesn't like you. You have really no basis for saying they don't like you. You have no basis for concluding they don't like you. You have no basis for just putting that interpretation on their behavior or the way they are acting, the way they are engaging. You really have no, you really have no reason because there's really no reason. But guess what? You concluded just by observing them, you believe that they are in this mode, this zone where you conclude they don't like you. Now, it is an example of your mind playing tricks on you. That's not to say that most of the deductions we make, most of the processing of people's behavior and so on is not really true and correct. They are, but most of the time they are also untrue because we go on this trail of suspicion. We end up not being right, and it happens in relationships. It happens in all manner of relationships, business relationships, personal relationships, private relationships, marriage relationships, and so on, all manner of relationships where most of the time people and what they think they are reading is wrong reading and has nothing to do with the twist and the spin they've put on what they believe is actually the case. Muhammad Yunus is saying that's what the mindset does. It plays strange tricks. The mind instructs the eyes to see what it wants it to see. What a powerful quote. Our minds aren't passive observers, simply perceiving reality as it is. Our minds actually change reality, said Alea Crum, an assistant professor of psychology and director of the Stanford Mind and Body Lab. Let's take this again because it is really interesting. Our minds aren't passive observers. In other words, your mind is not just sitting there and just looking and just saying, well, think what you want to think. No, he's saying your mind actually changes reality. Your mind influences the reality of the truth. In other words, your mind is always reinterpreting and taking away the actual interpretation of what you see. If you understand anything about the power of the mind and mindset, this is why a lot of marketing approaches, or the many approaches to marketing these days, is more understanding the science of engaging the mind to think a certain way, think in a certain direction, so that marketing products can be easy. Why? Because the whole point of playing on the minds is now a big part of engaging people and moving people to get things done. That's why people in positions of responsibility, people in positions of power, people in positions of honor, people who've been voted into office to sit either in parliament or in government or wherever, cannot make reckless statements about inciting war, inciting chaos, and inciting anything that can literally destroy life and property. He said the mind is the first place, I like this, to make changes in your life. The mind is the first. The body is not the first place to make changes. The diet is not the first place to make changes in your life, even though these areas and faculties of life are very important. They are not the first place to make changes. They are not the most critical places to make changes. If Ghana will transform, then the first place to touch with Ghanaians is our thinking the way we think. If Nigeria will make changes and move forward and progress, if Somalia will stop the war, if Burkina Faso will be a better nation, if Mali will be a better nation, Senegal from Cairo to Cape Town, from Senegal to Somalia, across Africa, if we will be that continent we desire to be, then the first place to address is the thinking, is the mind. Discoveries in brain science coupled with astonishing acts of human will have solidified the human brain as perhaps the most powerful, life-changing force in the world. I love this. Don't you love this? Let's take it again. Discoveries in brain science coupled with astonishing acts of the human will, just sheer grit, stubborn position, and this posture that I will not go down. All of these have solidified the human brain as perhaps the most powerful life-changing force in the world. What it means, therefore, as we conclude, is simply this, that, my friends, your mind, my mind, your thinking, my thinking, all of it put together, they are at the heart of any change, any change, any change. I have said this before, and I dare even say it again right now, that even faith and religion and spirituality, which most people subscribe to, depending on what your faith and your spirituality is. I subscribe to the Christian faith based on the death and the resurrection of the Lord Jesus Christ. And that is what I subscribe to. You probably might subscribe to some other faith, maybe one of the major faiths, what is considered the major faith, or maybe non-faith at all. Whatever you subscribe to, even faith and religion and spirituality has to target bringing a certain transformation to the thinking, where we become transformational agents of change. In other words, transformational change agents, agents of transformational change. We, that's you and I, especially young people, Africa, this continent has so much hope. But guess what? The hope is all tied in to your quality of thinking, my quality of thinking, our quality of mindset, how you think, how I think, both as individuals and collectively. We cannot have the devaluing mindset and hope to transform and emancipate this continent. It has to change, or all over the world, wherever you are. I believe that this conversation has landed some nuggets of wisdom, and we'll keep the conversation going. I want to thank you so very much for coming in again and for listening in. I want to ask you to please subscribe, share, like, subscribe, share, like, subscribe. Particularly subscribe to our videos, subscribe to our channel. Make sure, do your best, and please make sure that this goes around. I cannot thank you enough. Thank you again for being a part of this conversation.